the CineSnob Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 337 of the CineSnob Podcast. My name is Cody Villafana. I am joined this week by Jocelyn Durand for another fine episode. I feel like we're close to getting Kiko back. We're not quite there yet, but yeah, we're still holding down the fort. We're still late on recording this, but I think we have some good reasons this time around. There's a lot of movies that we're covering today, so we had to have some time to to watch everything. Yeah. You got nothing to add there?
Oh, I just hear excuses.
Okay, well, you didn't have everything watched by Sunday either, so.
I forgot about one, okay? So I was almost there.
Yeah. When these are nice weeks where, like, so just to give people a little insight into how this works. Oh, I need to turn on my ring light, don't I? There we go.
Oh, thank God. Much
I know,
better.
Made a huge difference. So sometimes when we review movies, we get screener links and we're able to watch at home, and it's a big help because we don't have to go to the theater. And some days there's episodes where we have to go to the theater like 2 or 3 times. Sometimes we only have to go once, and the rest we're able to watch at home, and that's always a nice thing to do. And so anytime you see like a bunch of movies being covered at once, chances are we had some links. We were able to watch at home. It allows us to cover more, and yeah. So we're not doing the full preview this week, but I am in full preparation stages for Fantastic Fest, which is starting almost a week from today, a week from tomorrow, when we're recording this. It starts up, and making my my schedule, trying to figure out what I want to see. We're gonna do a little bit of a preview when we record this weekend, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. What is the last film festival that you've been to?
Oh my God, that's an excellent question. Probably like an early South by from way back in the day.
From like the 2010s?
Oh yeah, like it's been a little while for sure.
Yeah, I think that my first South by was like 2013 or something like that. I want to say that sounds about right.
And that was probably right when I stopped, so we're covered. That's good. It's just like I handed it off to you, yeah.
Yeah. And interestingly, a few of these movies premiered at festivals. I saw 2 of them at festivals. Interestingly, again, like I think next week there's a movie coming out that I saw at a festival. So we're in that prime time now where a bunch of festival movies from like South by, Sundance are finally coming out in this period of time. And yeah, I look forward to covering Fantastic Fest and previewing it this upcoming week and talking a little bit about what is showing there. And yeah, but for now, we have plenty of business to attend to. So why don't we get started?
Yeah, sounds great.
Here are this week's reviews.
So first up this week, we're covering the, we're kind of going in order of like biggest theatrical releases or like high profile. And so this week, first up, we're covering a movie called Splitsville. So Splitsville is a movie that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival back in May. And it's a movie that is directed by Michelangelo Covino, who also co-wrote it with Kyle Marvin, and these are the 2 male leads in the movie. And basically, it is sort of like a relationship drama, or I shouldn't say drama, relationship comedy about a couple that decides that. The wife, played by Adria Arjona, decides that she wants a divorce, and her husband is not super on board with this and kind of melts down a little bit, and they end up visiting their friends. And basically they say that the key to them staying together is that they're in an open marriage. And so that leads Adria Arjona's husband to do some things that could be interpreted as inappropriate with Dakota Johnson's character, who plays the friend's wife, and then that leads to sort of relationship drama that occurs in this sort of like I was going to call it a love triangle, but it's more like a love square that exists here. So yeah, so the thing that I'm going to say about the movie is going to sound like it's like an insult, but it's not actually. But the whole kind of like setup and execution of it feels very like sitcom-y. And I feel like, and I don't know if this is going to make sense here, but it kind of feels like this movie is like 3 to 4 episodes of like a TV show to me,
I can see that. Yeah.
where it almost unfolds in that way and like transitions into that way. There's almost like chapters of like
There
what
are
happens
chapters, right?
within the relationship, and like you have like time jumps and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I was watching like 4 episodes of a relationship sitcom, and I think like it also feels like episodic in the nature of like there's a lot of just like trying to execute on jokes rather than like following with a through line of a narrative. That being said, normally when I would say sitcom, that would be like an insulting thing, but I don't.
Right.
I'm not. I actually like this movie. I think I found myself really entertained by the comedy of it in particular. I feel like I really like the interplay of Kyle Marvin and Michelangelo Covino. I like the relationship that they have. I like the script. I think it's really funny. There's a lot of really funny non sequiturs and funny lines and stuff like that. I feel like if there's anything that is a complaint, I feel like Adria Arjona's character gets a little bit sidelined in the middle of the movie, where she sort of like disappears off screen for a huge like middle chunk of the movie, and then I think when she's brought back into the fold, her character doesn't really get a whole lot to do, and I'm not really sure that I love the arc of that character very much. But I think like their relationship dynamics are entertaining, they're funny. It's not like side-splittingly funny or anything like that, but I found it to be like at minimum amusing the whole time, and at the most like pretty funny. I think that the one thing that also gets lost within the movie occasionally is this sort of like, what is it saying? What is the commentary on? Because I think you can make an argument that on a couple of things, which is like one, which is like nobody really knows what they're doing within their relationship, or the idea that people would rather go to these like extreme lengths of like polyamory to fix their relationship rather than just kind of like talk about like what's going on, and a lot of this is operating off of assumption that is wrong, and that's kind of how everyone finds themselves in these types of situations. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I was really, really enjoying it. And there's a moment where the main character played by, I would call him like the lead, the Kyle Marvin. He plays Carrie, the husband of Adria Arjona, and I would say when he like moves back in and like she starts dating around and stuff like that, is where the movie sort of like loses me a little bit. But I think it's like regained by the end of it. I'm trying to. There's also, I think, too, one thing that a lot of people are writing about with this movie is there's like a really extended fight scene that happens that I feel is like again like really funny and entertaining and enjoyable to watch. So yeah, I mean, I personally, and this will come up a little bit later in the show, I am a big fan of like the messy relationship drama where like couples are like doing things that don't make any sense, or things get out of hand, or things get needlessly or overly complicated. And I feel like this is like a lighter version of what you would see in like the messy relationship drama that I really like. Whereas I feel like one of the movies later in the show is like a heavier version of that and more my speed. But that being said, I mean, I do think that it is an interesting look at sort of like modern relationships or non-monogamy, though I wish it had a little bit more to say in its commentary about that, and was less interested in just sort of like being funny. So yeah, I mean, I think as a comedy it works. It just feels a little bit sitcom-y at times with its sort of setup and execution. So I'll turn to you, Jocelyn.
It's funny because I had the opposite reaction to this movie. I really didn't find it funny at all, and it was actually like super uncomfortable for me in the theater because it's taking these like huge swings And then it was like dead silent in the theater. And I was just like, I felt super awkward. Even the fight scene I thought was so ridiculous. And there's that one, and it's trying so hard to be funny. There's one point where he takes a fish and he's like, I slapped you with a fish. And it's like, that's not funny. I don't find any of this funny. Like, it's just sort of dumb and awkward is what I felt. And then even like, so I'm talking about like maybe the first half of the movie, the scenes where he's on the roller coaster, it's trying so hard and it's really just not successful for me. And I was glad because I did, some Googling, and I did see other people who mentioned the fact that they really didn't understand why people think that this movie was funny, because I was just sitting there like, this is terrible and I really don't enjoy it. I will say though, that when it started losing you was also when it just kind of like confirmed what I felt when like she started dating around and it just became even more ridiculous. I was like, this movie just keeps getting worse. But then I will say that it actually kind of brought me back around at the end. Like when they all start sort of like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's the husband, who's the director as well, when he starts like admitting that he's terrible and sort of working on himself, and the jail jump, I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, that was when I started being like, okay, I kind of like where this movie is going now, with all of that and sort of whether the couples are having reconciliations or not, and then the Nicholas Braun character being brought in, like that all is when it started like actually becoming a little more endearing for me. And then it just kind of like stuck the landing where it ended, where I was like, oh, I actually didn't hate it as much as I thought I did from the beginning, but it just really lost me. I know that extended fight scene, I was just really like, I was just sitting there like, I know this is supposed to be funny, and it just did not connect with me at all. Yeah, and just ridiculous, like just not even her the ex-wife or his current wife that's separated, dating around in this like weird situation that they have at home, but even just like the relationship he has with Dakota Johnson, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like he's this like gym teacher guy, and she's like this beautiful like kept woman like who has like a very rich lifestyle, and I'm just like, this doesn't really gel in my opinion. Well, I mean, even his wife is like extremely attractive, and he's kind of like this sad sap.
There's a bit of like a beauty gap in both 100%, of these relationships.
Yes. I mean, like,
yeah,
you're being very polite, but I think what you mean to say is that it doesn't make any sense. Like this movie is it's slightly unbelievable. Yes, you have to put a little bit of like disbelief in when you're watching this, and then I guess get on board for the silliness. Which I was not into, but like I said, it came around and it actually won me over in the end, and I liked where it ended and where it wound up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the dynamics of the idea that like, again, these people think that they have to get into these like complicated like sexual partnerships when really like the solutions were pretty simple the whole time. I think is like an interesting thing to like mine. I just don't know that it's really like saying a whole lot about that. I think, like I said, I think it's more interested in getting these characters in like uncomfortable, awkward 100% positions.
Yes, it feels super forced, I think, is why
which is
I
where
really
it feels
had a problem
sitcom-y.
with it.
Which is why it feels sitcom-y, because it literally is getting them into these situations and like creating comedy from it.
See, that's why I love when we both watched the movie, because I feel like you help me understand the feelings that I have about these movies, where it's like, I don't know why it makes me uncomfortable, and it's because you're right, it's forced, it's super forced, and it doesn't really feel very natural or genuine or even realistic. But it sticks the landing, so you can't complain.
And that being said, like I certainly did find it funnier than you. I think that there are a lot of like very funny lines, especially with the two guys interacting with one another. I feel like they are very funny together. And sorry, they were just destroying like this multi-million-dollar home. And it's just like, in what world are they going to be like, literally, like he was just upset about the rug that's like $25,000, and now they're literally like decimating this mansion. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. With the weakest fight imaginable. It's just to me it was very funny. I like where it ends. I like the sort of ending of that fight, and then the sort of fallout of the ending of that fight.
The fish stuff.
That I think is funny, but I'm more talking about the eyebrows thing, which I thought.
Oh, I did that. Oh my God! Thank you for reminding me. The hairspray with the flamethrower thing. I was like that. I mean, if I wasn't already fed up at that point, that just like pushed me over the edge. It was like watching a Looney Tune cartoon.
I think that's the point.
I guess.
It was supposed to be. It was supposed to be.
But
over
it's
the
like
top
this,
like
but it's like this Noah Baumbach movie with like a Looney Tune farce in the center of it.
See,
do you know what I mean?
I think that the tone is way more.
It's like Marriage Story, and then all of a sudden there's this like ridiculous, silly fight.
No, I disagree there, because I mean the movie begins with like a guy at the scene of an accident with his dick hanging out. Like
yeah.
Like this movie is very.
But like the themes are like serious. It's like all about divorce, and you know. So I'm like,
the themes are serious, but the tone is not serious.
That's exactly why I feel like it's like they're like not talking to each other almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't gel for me.
Well, let's get into final thoughts and grades.
Sure.
So for me, again, just to kind of reiterate, I feel like the setup and execution of the movie feels a little bit sitcom-y, though I feel like it is not as like generic. I just feel like the situations that they get themselves into are the point of the movie, not necessarily that the movie is about anything bigger or greater or explores themes. I think the performances across the board are really great. I really like everyone in this movie and the role that they play. Well, the four main actors in it, and especially the two male leads. I think they play off of each other really nice, and they co-wrote the movie together. So clearly, there's like some kind of, chemistry that's ingrained in that. Is it entirely believable? No, but does it work for me as like a pretty funny and enjoyable and relationship drama that's a nice breezy watch? For sure. So I'm giving this a B. Jocelyn, over to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the performances were really great, and like I said, I liked where the story led us, but for me it didn't make up for the sort of ridiculousness of the first half of the movie, and a lot of the things that I just think felt really unrealistic. So I'm doing a C+.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our second film of the evening, or the episode. I don't know why I said evening, which is Highest to Lowest. So Highest to Lowest is the new Spike Lee movie that is out now on Apple TV Plus after a short theatrical run. The movie is a remake of the Kurosawa movie High and Low, a movie that I have not seen before. Sorry. And this version of the movie is about a character played by Denzel Washington, who is basically like a founder of a record company who is supposed to be like really well known and very respected in the industry. And he has and he's planning to sort of like buy out his partners in order to take ownership of the record company. And so he's trying to save a lot of money. And in the middle of this, his son and his son's friend get kidnapped and held for ransom. And basically what ends up happening is that they end up taking the wrong kid, and his son gets released and out there, and his friend's son, or I think who's also his driver's son, continues to be held for ransom, and he's faced with this decision of like, does he want to pay the ransom for his friend's kid, or does he want to reserve that money for buying back the record company and the fallout that would come from making that decision? And that is basically the plot of Highest to Lowest. So I have not seen the Kurosawa movie. I don't know how close this follows the actual original movie, which I think was based on a book.
The King's Ransom.
Yeah. But what I can tell you about Highest to Lowest is that I just was not into this movie at all. And I think it from the get-go, I think it did not have me. And I think part of the thing that really drives down the movie, especially early on, is the movie feels really, really melodramatic for the first like half of the movie. And part of the reason, if not like a giant reason why this is the case, is that the movie has this like really overbearing score that is just like really loud in the mix, and it's like really like sappy and dramatic and manipulative and
Over the top.
over the top. Like, it's not what the movie calls for whatsoever, especially considering like this is a movie about a music mogul, and you would think that this would be populated with like interesting music, but instead it's like this like overwrought, like terrible orchestral stuff that just was ruining every scene, because like the music swells with this really dramatic thing, and it sort of like cheapens the moment for me. And so the first half of the movie, that is like this negotiation ransom type stuff, just does not work for me at all. I don't like any of it. I don't think it's executed well. I feel like there's one saving grace of the first half of the movie, and I think that's Jeffrey Wright's performance, who I think is really, really good in
He's
the movie.
always good.
He's very consistent, but I have no problem saying that he sort of like outclasses Denzel in this movie.
Yeah, 100%.
In my opinion. This and so and again, this situation seems so much more dramatic. And again, I'm not buying into the dramatic stakes of this all. Like, I don't care about this character buying back his record label, nor do I care about the kidnapping of two characters I've spent 5 minutes with. I just don't really like the setup of it, nor do I like the way that it sort of like resolves itself by the midpoint of the movie, because then the second half of the movie is about something kind of different, where it turns into this sort of like kind of like heisty kind of like Denzel and Jeffrey Wright try to go out to like retrieve his money. And this is when the movie sort of like comes alive a little bit. I think that like the thing that he basically has like a one-on-one show. Denzel has like a one-on-one showdown with A$AP Rocky that I feel like is a moment where we finally see like Spike Lee come out in that part, because I feel like the first half of this movie could have been made by anyone, whereas I think the second half of the movie leans into Spike Lee's characteristics a little bit more, almost to the point where like Denzel and A$AP Rocky have like a rap battle kind of thing that goes on. It reminded me a lot of the movie Blind Spotting, if you've ever seen that, where the climax of Blind Spotting is like a rap that is like incredible to watch. This does not quite reach those heights, but I do feel like when it turns into the sort of like heisty movie, it gets better. Does it get good? No. I don't really think that any part of this movie succeeds. And I feel like by the time that it gets good, or I should say by the time it gets better, it has worn out so much goodwill that, you know, for a movie that's almost 2.5 hours to like not get interesting until like an hour and a half in, to me is like, you know, you've already lost me at that point. So for me, it just like none of it really works. The dramatic stakes never feel authentic, and this goddamn score really undercuts everything about it. So for me, I was not into it at all. But I will go ahead and turn to you.
You warned me about the score, and I was still sort of unprepared for how terrible it was going to be. It was so like obnoxious and completely like out of place and bad. And yes, I have seen High and Low, of course, a huge Kurosawa fan. Saw it a long time ago, and it's not one of my favorite Kurosawa movies. I remember being pretty bored by it. I don't remember a lot about it, but oh man, this remake was really tough. Yeah, I found nothing to hang on to in that first half. You're right, Jeffrey Wright is maybe the, you know, one thing that it has going for it, but that's even stretching it, because his character is a little bit of a, I don't know, like sort of almost like a token sort of element, you know, and just kind of like they're trying to shoehorn in some feelings without doing the work of establishing like relationships or any type of like sentimentality. except in that freaking music where it's like overly sentimental and terrible. So that's the first half. I agree. The second half does kind of wake up a little bit. And I gotta say, A$AP Rocky, he is. What did I see? Oh, I saw him in What was
Pop
it?
Star.
Pop Star, Never Stopping. And I was just like, man, A$AP Rocky. I started like putting him on my radar, and of course now we have like a few movies that are going to be coming out with him. This one in particular, and I just think he's like got this real star power. And when he was on the screen, I was like paying attention. And man, Denzel, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was maybe going for like a loose Denzel, like not so. I don't know.
It's like the opposite of whatever he was doing in Gladiator 2.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, like he's so actor in Gladiator 2, and then this is like very like loose and free, and it's bad. It's real bad. I was just like, man, Denzel is not doing a good job acting. I did not think. There's lines where it's like he's like stuttering, and I know they keep it in because they think it seems authentic, but it doesn't. It just sounds like really it does the opposite for me. Like it takes me out of it because it sounds like he's acting, or thinks that this makes it seem authentic, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I just was like on my phone a lot. There's really long drawn out scenes of, actors like speaking together, and they're just kind of going around in circles, like this one in particular with him and his wife. And it doesn't make any sense because it's like, I guess, supposed to be about him struggling with the morality of whether he's going to pay the ransom or not. But it's just, it seems like there's one clear answer for me, and it doesn't seem like anyone would struggle with like the life of a friend's kid. I don't know. So it doesn't, and I don't remember how the Kurosawa film did it, but I want to say that it was done more subtly. It was like a little less like out there as far as like him basically saying that he's struggling with wanting to do this thing, because that just makes you kind of a monster, and there's no, so I really think the movie kind of hinges on that. And this movie just didn't do a good job at that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get into final thoughts and grades. And for me, this movie is just sort of like completely weighed down by melodrama. And I feel like the first half of the movie in particular is so melodramatic, and it's really undone by one of the more overbearing scores I've heard in a while. I feel like, your score should at minimum be sort of like you don't notice it, and then like at best be something that like you really point out, but it should never be something that is so distracting that it pulls you away from what's going on. So for me, like I said, no element of the movie really works. I mean, I think the craftsmanship from Spike Lee is there in the bigger moments and the bigger set pieces. And, there's great like New York footage like you might expect. But for me, this movie just like never really, when it starts to finally turn up a little bit, it's like way too late. So for me, this gets a C. Jocelyn, your final thoughts and score.
I, for all the same reasons, gave it the same score. It's really disappointing. I was so excited to see, a Spike Lee joint from a Kurosawa movie, and man, it really fumbled the ball. So I'm giving it a C as well.
All right. So let's get into our next film, Twinless. So Twinless was a movie that I saw back at Sundance in 2025, or back in January, I should say. Where it won the audience award there. It was also notable. It was one of the two movies that got pulled from the platform before the festival ended for piracy, where people were uploading clips of the movie online. So two movies got pulled. One I got to see, one I did not get to see. One was the Selena documentary, one was Twinless. But the movie actually has like a pretty interesting premise, I would say. A very sort of like, and this, I'll kind of like circle back to this in a bit, but like a very Sundance-y movie premise about a character played by Dylan O'Brien, who is sort of grieving the death of his identical twin, and joins a support group for people who are twins who have lost their twin. and there he befriends someone who is also like grieving the loss of their twin, and through a perspective switch and seeing things that happened prior to this, we realize that the character that Dylan O'Brien meets, plays by the writer and director James Sweeney, may not be telling the entire truth about things, and we get to see a little bit about like how maybe that character knew Dylan O'Brien's twin, in which Dylan O'Brien is playing both twins in the role here, in a dual role. I will preface this by saying I'm going to let Jocelyn do a little bit of the heavy lifting here, because I've not seen this movie in like 8 months, and so I was not able to rewatch it. So I'm operating off of like very old information here and my Letterboxd review that I wrote. But my impression of the movie was that it's a little bit uneven. I think that there are some pieces of it that really, really work. In particular, I feel like Dylan O'Brien is really phenomenal in this part, where he's playing two roles that are pretty different from one another. It's weird because I don't want to like make this necessarily a comparison, because these are two totally different things. But you know how like in Sinners, Michael B. Jordan is playing two twins, right, and like doesn't really distinguish them very much from one another, and you can't really tell them apart aside from like their clothing and stuff like that.
Right.
This is the opposite of that, where Dylan O'Brien is playing two very, very different characters as these twins, and I think does a really good job inhabiting both of them. You know, one of them is like a very like charismatic gay character, and like full of life, and then one of them is like a meathead jock kind of dumb character, and I feel like he brings so much to both of those roles, especially the main character that we see in the movie, who just is sort of like a lovable lug, like a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve.
To be fair, he only plays the double role very like much shorter than Michael B. Jordan in Sinners.
Well,
just
I mean,
to be fair, it's much quicker
with both of them together, maybe, but like,
right.
But like he's in like most of the movie playing one
right
or
as
the other
one.
part.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think Dylan O'Brien is like the headline like reason to see this movie, because I think he's really great in it. I think the thing that sort of plagues the movie is something that you see a lot of times in Sundance, which is you have someone who is like writer, director, and actor. And it is like their vision, their movie, and you can't help but watch it and feel like maybe like one of those roles should have gone to someone else. Where I feel like maybe James Sweeney was like did too much here. Like maybe he like could have like co-wrote the movie, or like not starred in it, or not directed it, or like something about it. Because I feel like sometimes you get these like movies where it could use like another voice in the room, or it could use a little bit of editing, or it could use a little bit of like an alternative perspective, or like maybe like sometimes what happens a lot of times is like these filmmakers will like write themselves like these really deep, intense like acting monologues for them to like show off. There's a couple of people who do this often that I won't like call out here, but I that was my takeaway from it, was like I feel like it's like a really like scruffy movie where I feel like there's a lot of good that happens within it. I also feel like it can be a little bit uneven, and maybe could have used like another voice in the room or something like that, because I think that James Sweeney is fine in the movie, but I don't know that his performance stands up to what Dylan O'Brien is doing here. So I think it's like uneven but mostly good, or again based on my recollection. So I will go ahead and turn to you.
I'd be surprised to hear that I think the exact opposite.
Sure.
I think James Sweeney is so good in this. And I think that he's really like, he's what the movie is really like hinging on, because he has to play this person who is likable, but still like really unlikable. And you kind of want to hate. And he is mean, and he's not nice, and just I don't, there's a spoiler in this movie that you can't really give away, but he's got this like darkness to him, and I feel like James Sweeney did such a great job with that. And I especially really liked his scenes with Ainsley, the actress Ainsley. I can't remember, but she's the one who plays the
Aisling
Franciosi something, yeah, who plays the girlfriend who eventually becomes the girlfriend of the surviving twin, Roman. And James Sweeney and her scenes together I loved, because it was like almost like a chess match where she seems really naive, and you get subtle hints of like, no, she knows what the shit she's doing, like she's not some idiot, and and he is making her feel that way, or making it seem like she is some, dumb girl. And I there's a few of their interactions where I started picking up on like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like there's something more to her. And I think that was done really well. They're sort of like doing little breadcrumbs throughout the movie. And then eventually, of course, when it all comes to a head and they're really like evenly matched, where she's like this really intelligent, like emotionally intelligent person going up against this guy who is basically like conning, her boyfriend. And I felt like it was so well done. And I honestly, I'm Dylan, what is his name? Sorry, Dylan O'Connell. O'Brien is doing a great job. I do think that he deserves a lot of credit for his performance. And maybe this is James Sweeney's fault because he did write the script. I just felt like, and I told you this, that when he's playing like the dumb brother, that it's like so blatantly dumb. I wish there was a little more subtlety to him being like not as, intelligent as everyone else, or, not like a, what is it, like a coastal, intellect.
Yeah. And
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I also think, and I told you this when we talked about the movie,
right,
was that I think that's the charm of the character, right? Is
yeah.
that this is a character who is like wearing his heart on his sleeve, who doesn't like care what anyone thinks, and he's like trying to struggle his way through this, but he's like a man and doesn't know what he's saying. I feel like that character is more complex than you give it credit for, I think.
I just think the script could have done it in a way that was more creative.
Sure. I mean, I have my own problems with the script. Yeah.
I don't think it's his performance's fault. I think it's the script who is really kind of like taking shortcuts in regards to making him the dumb one, as far as like even like the line where he's like, I know I don't talk politics. Like they could have done that in a way that was a little more like less to the point. Do you see what I mean? Where it's just like, okay, sure. Yeah, we need to make a point, so let's just like say what we mean. And I hate that, because it just feels like it shortchanges the movie, which is so good. I really loved this movie. I was surprised. Like the next day, I was thinking like, man, I can't wait to see more Twinless episodes. Like I've never done that before, where I was literally like thinking that it was a show that I could go back and like watch more of. And I was really disappointed when I remembered that it was a movie. I was like, damn, I really wish this had been like a couple episodes, and they really could have, because I just really enjoyed it. It never got too mean or too mean-spirited and I really loved their relationship too. Like, just like the straight guy and the gay guy, and the way that they built that. And then when they're in the Halloween party and there's some costumes, I just thought everything was really adorable and lovely and fun. And even when it gets dark, it's like not too dark, but still interesting. And what was the last thing I wanted to say about it? I can't remember, but I'm sure it'll come back to me during our what we think at the end. All right.
Well, we'll get into that final thoughts and grades section here. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think that there's, James Sweeney is definitely a talent to watch. And I think that like he's definitely a very capable, writer and director. And I don't want to like say his performance is bad necessarily, but I truly think that Dylan O'Brien here is doing like some really fantastic work in a role that calls him to play two very different characters. And I feel like he is, I feel like the main character that he plays here, Roman, is like, again, like a very interesting and complex character that I think he adds. Like this character could have been like a very like dumb sort of like stereotype.
Yeah.
And I feel like he adds so much emotional depth to that character through his performance. And then you also get this completely different version of a twin, where he's also like really great as his twin Rocky. And I feel like it's just a really, I love watching these movies where you see like these actors who you are like, oh, this actor is definitely good, but like when's they're going to be like their breakout? And I feel like this is like a really great breakout performance for him. That being said, like I said, I feel like it is a bit uneven, and I feel like it can suffer a little bit from the sort of like, filmmaker who is trying to maybe do too much. But that being said, I do think that it's plenty solid. I'm giving it a B-. Your final thoughts and grade, Jocelyn?
Yeah, to the point of him and this twin and the, differences before the performances, like to the point where I didn't even know if they were the same actor. And they look identical, but I mean, they are identical. It's the same person. And I was still questioning whether it was the same person that they used. So that was pretty impressive. Also, I did remember, and it's a perfect way to end it by saying that I really loved what he did. James Sweeney, I'm going to go back and see his previous movies, and I'm looking forward to what he does in the future as well. I just think it's like a really unique voice that he has, and I just really, I'm going to recommend this movie to people as a fun thing to go see.
Yeah.
Oh, A-.
All right.
What did you give it? Sorry.
B-.
Okay.
Yeah.
A-.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next film, not our last one. We're really rolling through it here, which is called The Threesome. So The Threesome is a movie that, again, I saw at a festival. I saw it at South by Southwest back in March. And the movie is... So let me try to set this up. Do you feel like we should like... Because the spoilery thing is in the trailer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
I went in knowing the spoiler.
So going in, so when I saw the movie, the spoiler was not out there, but it is in the trailer. So we are going to spoil a reveal that happens like 30 minutes into the movie, maybe. So, when you're looking at the title of The Threesome, in the setup of The Threesome, it really is a movie about a character played by Jonah Hauer-King, who has sort of like a long-standing crush on a girl named Olivia, played by Zoe Deutsch, and he ends up meeting a girl at a bar played by Ruby Cruz, and they all go out like drinking and dancing together and end up having a threesome as part of their evening. And so after this encounter, one of the girls reveals to him that she is pregnant as a result of that encounter. And then very shortly after, they find out that the other girl is also pregnant, and he has gotten 2 women pregnant as a result of this threesome. And they sort of like try to navigate this very complex situation. So,
well done.
Thank you. So I mentioned earlier that one of my favorite sort of like subgenre of movies is the complex relationship drama. And this movie reminds me a lot of a movie called Your Sister Sister. It is a movie that was directed by the late Lynn Shelton. That to me is like one of my favorite sort of like messy relationship dramas. Also reminds me of like Celeste and Jesse Forever, movie that you borrowed from me.
That I stole from you.
And then never returned.
But then I bought you
bought me a new copy because you lost it in your move. Yes. And probably still have not watched that movie.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably see Your Sister Sister before I see you.
Probably, yeah. But it's like this really complex relationship drama where like, you're throwing characters into a situation that is like very like non-conventional, and you just kind of like see how they handle it, right? And I feel like that's what happens here, where like, I don't think that, to my knowledge, I haven't seen a movie before that explores a man who has impregnated 2 women at the same time. And so it really sort of like explores the relationship dynamics between, him and Zoe Deutsch, who have like an existing relationship, versus him and Ruby Cruz, which is kind of like a one-night stand kind of thing. and he's really truly like in love with Zoe Deutsch here, and seeing him sort of like navigate the push and pull with their relationship, and then the Ruby Cruz character is sort of like trying to navigate being in a situation where she's with she's not with this person, but she's deciding what to do. And there's like very frank conversations about abortion in the movie. Like I feel like it's like it feels like a very like, again, mature relationship drama. Performance wise, I feel like, all right, we're going to disagree here. So Jonah Howard King, I think, is not the right choice for this movie, in my opinion. He plays the guy. And I feel like the two women are really strong in the movie. I feel like I've been a fan of Zoe Deutsch for a long time, and I feel like this is the best she's ever been. I feel like she is really, really good in this movie. I like the sort of like sarcastic, sort of like witty nature of her character. There's a lot of like really funny, like dry, funny lines in the movie, especially delivered by her. And I feel like I really like that part of her character.
What was your favorite one?
You know what? I was watching it and I like logged it, and then I just like forgot it.
One stuck out to me when the champagne pops and she goes, "Did she shoot herself?"
Oh yeah,
that was so funny.
Yes, there's stuff like that. And like there's a lot of, again, like funny one-liners between like him and his like best friend in there. So I think the dialogue is very like sharp in this movie. It's very witty. There's a lot of like really funny like one-liners, especially at the expense of the Jonah Howard King character, who's sort of like relentlessly shit on for being in this situation throughout. And again, like I feel like Zoe Deutsch brings so much of like the heart. Like, they both bring like the heartbreak of like being in these very unique situations. There's a really well written conversation that they have about like, and I think this sort of like really seals the idea that like they're on like they're really covering the complexity of this properly, which is like there's this conversation about how like for the rest of his life he's going to be like given high fives and been like, oh yeah, you treated you got two women pregnant, awesome, whereas she's going to be seen as like,
I don't think that's true though.
Well, I mean,
do you think that people like give high fives for impregnating people? Like, I don't know.
I think that other men would high five him for
knocking up two women. Knocking up, I hate that term. I don't use that term.
Me.
I know. I did not mean to say that.
But I mean, like, they talk about like potent sperm and like all that shit, and like, I just feel like that. But there is like a difference in like how men and women would be treated in that situation, for sure. Where like a woman would be treated as like more like promiscuous in that situation than it would be like than the man for like the role that he played in all of it. And I feel like that conversation is really great. And I feel like Zoe Deutsch is really great in it. Ruby Cruz, I feel like her character is sort of like a very tragic character in this movie, who is really sort of like on the short end of the stick in a lot of different ways. My issue comes with Jonah Howard King, who I feel is just like, I messaged this to you, but like he just looks and acts like the saddest person on the planet,
like the hottest man in the world. Yes, I agree.
But he's got like puppy dog eyes, where they're just like sad all the time, and he's sort of like playing this sort of like like hopeless romantic kind of role.
Yeah,
which I feel like
that's attractive.
Well, I guess, but like he's sort of like very flip-floppy and wishy-washy on what he wants to do in these situations, and going back and forth between these women and like figuring out what he wants to do. I just really don't like the character. I don't like the role. I don't particularly love the performance here. I feel like this is a more interesting story of the two women who are having to deal with this than it is like from his perspective. I also feel like, I talked about like sitcom-y with Splitsville. I do feel like this is kind of like a like moderately sitcom-y premise going on here.
For sure.
And I do feel like the movie sort of like takes the drama maybe like a step or two too far, where I feel like it keeps on introducing like more and more dramatic wrinkles to what's going on. And by the end of it, it sort of ends in like a really like uncomfortable situation that I feel like, okay, this is starting to like stretch too far of what is already like a moderately unbelievable story.
Right.
And it just has like almost like two big reveals at the end of the movie, or two big like added dramatic layers.
Too many twists.
Where I feel like it's just like maybe one twist too many, where I feel like
Yeah.
it doesn't quite need one or the other. And it feels like the drama just gets like like amplified for maybe like the sake of drama. That being said, I really liked it. I mean, I think it's a really solid relationship drama movie that like has a really sharp sort of like screenplay. I think it's funny. I think the performances for the most part are really good. I think it's got honest and frank conversations and dialogue in it. And I think just the overall word I have for it is solid. So I will go ahead and turn to you.
Sure. So I was very surprised with where the movie went, considering the setup. The setup seems like it would be knocked up type of a movie,
or like a sex comedy or something like that.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And then it's like a completely different movie. So maybe that's the problem of the title. Like, I don't think it should have been called The Threesome.
I actually like that. I like the way that it subverts subverts expectations.
Okay. For sure. Yeah. No, yeah. And I mean, they are a threesome, you know. Some would argue like a fivesome now, but so you're right. It was bizarre because I was expecting like this other movie, and then when this movie came about, I really enjoyed it. And even like I had this one kind of ongoing, like almost like something in the like I couldn't get past it the entire movie, and it was bothering me the whole movie. And then they addressed it, which I was really happy to see, because so they kind of drop you into this relationship between Zoe Deutsch and the most attractive man in the world, and they don't ever explain like why he is so in love with her. It really just kind of like starts out with him just being like obsessed with her. Yeah. And then eventually they do go back and they explain like when they met and all those other things. And I was like happy to see that, because for a big part of the movie, I'm like, why aren't we getting any explanation about like them and why we're here? I will also say that, oh my gosh, Ruby Cruz, I think, was maybe my favorite part of this movie. I liked her sort of very quiet and nice character way more than the Zoe Deutsch sarcastic, like really balls to the wall type of character. Maybe. I mean, I just think that a lot of things that Zoe was doing were really manipulative and bad. Like I told you, even something she does at the end, I was just like, that's like,
I mean, Ruby Cruz's character is not innocent in all of this either.
Well, here's the thing. That's what I love about it. It's that you were saying like, oh, she's like kind of like sad and not sad. What did you say? You said something like she's just kind of like been dealt this thing. She's not a victim to these circumstances. She has chosen these circumstances, and I love that she is just like standing firm in what she believes. And I know that sounds like I'm standing up for like pro-choice or pro-life, like, and they get into that. They do make jokes about like when Zoe Deutsch is like, am I a Republican, because she chooses to keep the baby, which is kind of funny. But what I'm trying to say more is I think that it's like this like very quiet this really quiet like presence that she has, that's just like very like secure and knows exactly what she wants and doesn't have to be all crazy and funny like Zoe. She's just like very calm and very quiet, but the things she says like are very heavy, and she like makes her point really well with just like a few simple words. And I just think, man, she did such a great job of bringing all that to this character who could have just been like the the third of this threesome, where it's like clearly the other two are more the stars of the movie. So yeah, I just think I really was impressed with Ruby Cruz's performance, and I want to go see other things she's done because I was just like really blown away by it.
Yeah, you haven't seen also, Bottoms, right?
No, and I was reading about it because of that. And then also his friend, he did a stand up on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
What's his name? I don't have it in front of me.
I'll get it. It's like Jamel
Yes.
Buki, I think, or something like that.
Oh my gosh. What was the name of
Or
this movie? We watched
what was it?
so
Jamel
many.
Buki's someone else. Hold on, let me see.
We watched so many movies this.
Watch out when you put
Who's gonna
threesome
get
into
first?
Wikipedia.
So Cody, have you had?
Jabu-
That was how I was gonna start
Jabuki
this.
Young White is
Yes.
his name. Yeah.
Man, he was so good.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, like, really, even, like, the supporting characters, I really loved. Like, there's one part where they throw the couple a surprise baby shower. And
Yeah.
at one point, they're, like, in the car, and he says, like, man, you could do a lot worse than this. And he tells him, like, you know, my husband's mom is a flat earther. And just that whole interaction I really loved. It was, like, a really important and, like, very nice moment. Done really well, and I just like it felt like a hug. This whole movie was just like really enjoyable. I totally agree. There's so many twists and turns along the way, and then there's like a dramatic labor and delivery thing. Also, I wanted to text you during this. As a mom of 2 kids, I've never once gone to like any of those like baby yoga bullshit. Like these movies make it seem like you have to do these things when you're pregnant, and I hate that. I really hate that. And it's like more for a plot device rather than like actual, like no one, you know, like not all women go to like baby yoga. And when you're there, it's not like, oh, all your friends are there. It was just so silly. So that sort of stuff really kind of like bothered me. But for the most part, I think it was like a very nice and genuine movie.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to final thoughts and grades. And I think I really like a complex relationship drama, and I feel like it's an interesting exploration of every dude's worst nightmare. Am I right, fellas?
Yeah, threesomes. Yuck.
No, threesomes where both girls get
I know,
preggers.
I'm just kidding.
And yeah, I mean, I think the movie is like feels really authentic, even given its you know, like kind of like far-fetched premise. I really like how the title and the sort of synopsis of the movie gets really subverted by what goes on, because the first like 15 minutes of the movie almost like present you with this like, you know, like either like sex comedy or something like that, and then the hammer drops and you get like the reveal of everything, and you're like, oh shit, this is something totally different, and this is like this really complex situation. I think that Zoe Deutsch is really fantastic in the movie. I really like her character. I like how she's written. I like the performance. I feel like the movie handles like complex emotional situations really well. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's just really solid. So I'm gonna give this a solid B. Your thoughts, Jocelyn?
Everything just left my head.
That's not good. We're recording a podcast.
I know. No, I agree with you. I think I was like very pleasantly surprised by this movie. I think I would have preferred like 5% less of the Zoe Deutsch stuff. I think that they really focus on her and him a lot, and I feel like it could have been nice if we had maybe even more a little more of the Ruby Cruz stuff. It felt really like kind of one-sided. Yeah, I think all that to say that I was pleasantly surprised by this, but I'm giving it also a big old B.
All right.
B for baby.
B for baby. Okay, so we will get to the final film here, which is a movie called Lurker. Lurker is a movie that premiered at Sundance. However, it was not available on the digital platform, so I was not able to see it. It is a movie that is written and directed by Alex Russell, who Alex Russell, interestingly, I don't know if you knew this, but Alex Russell is a writer on both Beef and The Bear. So he's got some really good...
what was his name again?
Alex Russell.
Okay, I think I did recognize the name. Or maybe I saw it in a preview where they were like, from the writer of The Bear.
So it could be... So the thing that like really got me excited about this movie is that he wrote the episode Forks of The Bear, which to me is like one of the best episodes of television of the last like 5 years or 10 years, which is where Richie goes and kind of like figures out like he has a passion for the restaurant business, and just an amazing piece of TV. And Alex Russell wrote that episode. So this is a movie that is sort of like a psychological thriller, I would call it, about a character who has sort of like a chance encounter with a rising musician named Oliver, played by Archie Madekwe. I don't know how to really say his last name, but I'm gonna go with Madekwe. And he basically kind of acts nonchalant when he has this encounter, and ends up kind of like connecting with this sort of like musician and becoming friends, and eventually becoming part of his like crew. And all the while, this character sort of like secretly under the table is kind of like obsessed with this guy, and this was all very manipulated and calculated. And it's about a very obsessive sort of like admirer, sort of like worming his way into the inner circle of a rising sort of musician. And yeah, I mean, I think this movie has a lot to enjoy about it. I think the performances are really solid, and I feel like the situational sort of like complexities that they kind of wind themselves in are interesting. I think the main thing for me here was that I don't think that it ever escapes the sort of like trappings of the sort of like obsessive fan sort of storylines, where you have like this guy who's like clearly like unwell, who is very obsessive about this musician, and like the deeper he gets into it, the more manipulative he becomes, and there starts to be like power dynamic issues and things of that sort. So for me, I feel like the movie is one that is maybe like okay, but not spectacular. Again, good performances, interesting setup. But for me, I just don't think that it does anything new with this kind of like genre of like obsessive, like stalkery type movies. So yeah, to me, it never gets out of like the trappings of that, but still enough to, I think, recommend. So I'm giving it a B-.
Okay, well, I only saw half of this movie, but from the half that I saw, I really was into it. I wanted to see more, and I'm excited to finally finish it at one point. I think that the like universe building that it was doing was really excellent. It's very like like sort of like found footage sort of camera style. It's like super raw. But the acting is, I think, really done well, and the person who plays the sort of stalker guy, I was starting to notice like little instances of like scary intensity. I think that I was excited to see like how far they were going to go, because he seems like such a nice person, but then there's these like little moments where you're like, oh, there's something else going on here. And so it's hard for me to say because I don't know where it eventually goes, but I was really enjoying what they were building. And like I said, I cannot wait to finish it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had some technical problems that kept you from being able to see the whole thing. But, soon enough, you'll be able
I'm
to
a
see
dumb girl. Shucks.
All right. So that's going to bring us to the end of today's episode. We got through 5 movies, and next week will be a little bit lighter. We will be covering The Long Walk, which is the latest Stephen King adaptation, directed by Francis Lawrence, who I think most people know from the Hunger Games movies. I think he's directed every Hunger Games movie, if I'm not mistaken. And then we'll have a movie that I saw at South by Southwest this past year, which is called The Baltimoreans. This is a movie directed by one half of the Duplass brothers, Jay Duplass. And it's the first movie that a Duplass
My least
brother...
favorite.
Well, it's the movie that... it's the first movie that one of the Duplass brothers has directed in a really long time. So they're back behind the camera. They've been doing a lot of like producing and acting and stuff like that separately. So, that will be what we do. I don't think we'll have anything else, but we're always down for surprises here at the CineSnob Podcast. So you never know. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us anywhere on social media at CineSnob.net. You can also go to the website CineSnob.net where you can see any of these reviews singled out. You can see videos. Kiko's interview with Ron Howard is on the website, so you can find it there. In addition to that, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be helpful, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That would be amazing as well. Jocelyn, anything to add?
Oh, wow. Like about
Make it good.
What? No.
I don't know, like life or movies or.
Oh, I did want to see. I remembered why my mind went blank. I noticed your shirt like literally halfway through Heist to Lois. So then I was like, let me wait for Threesome.
Oh.
Is it I thought it was a Threesome.
Three Dumb.
What is that? Is it
podcast.
Merch?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a podcast. It's
I thought it was
podcast.
merch for the movie.
It's a podcast hosted by Scott Aukerman, Paul F. Tompkins, and Lauren Lapkus.
I know all of those people, and
It's a
I've
great
never heard of the podcast. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a Threesome shirt, so.
No. I don't kiss and tell, so.
And then I have something off mic to tell you about Heist to Lois.
Oh, well, let's end this thing so I can hear whatever this is. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this CineSnob podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit CineSnob.net. See you next week.